Have you ever wondered or perhaps wished miniature war game be truly co-op or solo playable as a real story-driven campaign game? Have you ever wished adventure campaign board game to have the tactical depth of war game? If you're one of those person, then we may have the game on its way for us. Recently, I came across a game called Eldfall Chronicles Northern Wind, which is currently on Kickstarter campaign with well over its funding goal. So today I'd like to share information that I have gathered about the game so far and why it excites me. The main disclaimer here is that I have not played the current game's prototype and only played a single solo game on Tabletop Simulator for its original game. So this first impression is essentially solely based on research skill, and the game has tons of content and info that are still hard to gather, so there may be some missing info or hopefully minimum, but there could be some misinterpretation on my end. Let's get started. The original game, Eldfall Chronicles, is a skirmish game developed by an indie company called Free Company. The company is based on Slovenia. The team's very first Kickstarter campaign, held back in May 2021, the original campaign was successfully funded, raising over 70,000 euro with almost 600 backers. The actual product was started to deliver earlier this year, and now the team is running the second Kickstarter campaign, Eldfall Chronicles Northern Wind. Northern Wind is described as cooperative narrative campaign driven by lore, immersive storytelling, and a unique tactical depth. Each player assumes the role of a hero who survived a brutal ambush in the treacherous northern mountains, burdened with the fate of the Empire. Guided by the quest map, the heroes embark on a race against time, aiming to reach the summit of the mountain Byodo before the blood moon rises and breaks the seal holding back the demonic Oni. And something worse. Basically, original Eldfall Chronicles was a war or skirmish game like Warhammer. Northern Wind uses majority of the game system rule with some adjustment, mainly simplification of the rule to fit into the narrative campaign board game. Although original Eldfall Chronicles did support solo play with AI, which itself isn't interesting, this time the game is really built with full-blown narrative campaign and to be played as either solo or co-op. The game has branching storylines, with each storyline is reportedly to last approximately 20 to 30 hours, with total 3 main storylines. Some of the expansions will add even more content to this, and making total playable content estimated to be over 100 hours. Hence this falls under massive campaign adventure board game genre to me, like Gloomhaven, Oathsworn, Tanaris Adventures, Eon Trespass series. Eldfall Chronicles have highly detailed, meticulously crafted world setting and lores. In Northern Wind, the game takes setting in one of the 4 main factions, the Empire of Soga, which is Japanese-themed faction. 2 games are cross-compatible, which means Northern Wind can use original skirmish pieces, and those miniatures, called models in this game, will get Northern Wind version of model profiles, which is essentially character cards. Similarly, Northern Wind characters will receive model profiles that are compatible with skirmish game. Having said that, today I will be focusing on Northern Wind, which is solo or co-op narrative campaign board game version. Let's take a look at some of the key elements of the game. Combat system is the main distinguishing feature of Eldfall Chronicles Northern Wind from any other tabletop adventure board games that I have seen or played. The game categorizes itself as a dungeon crawler. You or your team control 4 characters and combat against multiple villains on a battlefield using miniatures. The actual combat system is carried over from the original Eldfall Chronicles, so it's a war game system. For those of us who have never played war game, the rule here is basically lots of dice roll with many tactical options and decisions to make. War game is a genre of a game I view as chess with luck element. They are designed to play against another player and often organize tournament-style play in mind. Let's take a more closer look at the few elements of the game as actual examples to illustrate the depths of the combat system this game could offer. Looking at one of the character's stat card, called model profiles in this game, it's immediately apparent that there are significantly more numbers of stats and ability text one character has in comparison to many other board games of similar category. First, each character has core stats like stamina, health point, speed, and armor. In some board games, I would not be surprised these are the only stats a hero character has with one additional attack or offense value, perhaps from their weapon. In Northern Wind, there are 7 additional stats. Just as an example, offense, defense, and accuracy are all attack roll modifiers, but for different situations like active versus reactive melee and ranged attack. If it's a spell attack, the intellect will be used. Agility is used as a dodge action roll. Toughness may be used to fight against conditions like bleeding, while morale may be used in a setting of panicked. Then each model has traits, skills, and/or combat arts. These are what gives each model their unique character. Just to take as an example, Rogue-class Tharos has stealth skill. This makes him less susceptible to enemies' reaction. Being able to play outside of your own character's turn adds significant tactical element, especially if you are playing the game with others. Some board games have so-called reaction, but those may be automatic triggered attack when certain condition is met, which is just a simple yes or no dichotomy. However, in Eldfall Chronicles, this really sets apart. When a character takes its turn, its main action phase is called tactical phase. During this phase, the active turn character gets to do a movement step followed by action step, with latter presumably being most frequently as a form of attack. However, in this game, before the attack resolves, opponent AI will react and make its own action, whether they attempt to dodge your attack or attack back to not just negate your damage, but instead it actually damages you. Similarly, when an enemy attacks your hero, we have an option to decide to react. In fact, based on the game rule, it's not even limited for me to wait until they attack. I can actually attack while the enemy is moving in an attempt to stop them. It is also possible to react even if the character is not target of the attack. And just like active actions, reactive action require usage of the action points. You can see how interactive and tactical the game would become from this single feature of the game rule. Although the core rule carries over from the PvP skirmish game, there are a few modifications to original skirmish game rule, so this feels more like a real dungeon crawler board game. Field elements are a great example for this. Normally in skirmish game, we have to use ruler and actual distance of movement is measured by inches. I don't think most board gamers be thrilled to use rulers here. So here, the game uses section. It is important to note that the sections are not single grid in typical board game. They are much wider area. Characters have a line of sight based on the miniature orientation as well, so even on the same section, the actual position with relative orientation of each character matters. Also, being world-based game, unlike many other board games I played, there is a vertical dimension in the game, so character may need to use climb movement, may suffer from fall damage, and so on. Another example here is the game will also have scenery pieces that are interactive during the game. We can expect many terrain-related unique quest elements based on the simple fact developer decided to use modular tile system. In adventure board games, luck element is a necessary part of the game's core design to keep these games unpredictable and create epic moment feel. Eldfall Chronicles uses D20 roll, and it's ubiquitous, more so than the other tabletop board games. Just take an example. Melee attack with strike value of 2. I would be rolling 2 D20 dices using offense stat as modifier. If one or both were success, then I would need to do damage roll using D20 for each of the success attack rolls. During this roll, I would be using target's armor stat, D20 roll result, and power of my model's hit. Oh, by the way, if the target is dodging, there will be another D20 roll with its agility as modifier. Some may consider D20 is too swingy, but I think it really comes down to the final implementation and the balance, as D20 is only a tool potentially allowing 5% incremental change in the luck. But if the game only used 10 for threshold on everything, it simply becomes coin flip. For this regards, we've already seen the game having various stats that will be used for different situations as a dice roll modifier. They will of course then be able to individually modify by character's ability, items, and equipment. I've only played one brief online skirmish quest so far myself. However, looking at the hero's health point, I believe the game is balanced so that damage is harder to get through in this game than some of the other games where characters have 50 or 100 health points. In another word, I would expect there'll be more missed rolls than the other games. This is all thematic part of the game's design decision. So here we must think something like each character attacker are potentially deadly, so all try to dodge the damage. Perhaps this is a bit more realistic in sense that even legendary samurai, if he gets slashed once or twice, usually he dies. So key is dodging the fatal slash. Anyways, once you understand and adjust your expectation, the key is really overall balance. Obviously, if your hero is the only one missing to inflict damage while every attack from the enemy deals damage to your heroes, then that's not fair and not fun. However, if both are having similar situation and in the end your hero is standing with one single health point and the reaction attacking back enemy to take it down, I think those are the moments we feel epic in the game. Since this is a co-op or solo play game, the game needs monster AI. Every villains have their own model profiles and AI card. In fact, the developer has already confirmed there are 2 variants for both for every enemies. With variation in ability, I am fairly confident each villain will have a unique feel. Adding well-designed monster AI can certainly take that to the next level. The developer has also confirmed for bosses there will be staged AI, so it should provide thematic power escalation to those bosses. Since monster AIs are not deck-based, it is essentially a predictable element in the game. So to introduce unpredictable element, in Northern Wind, developers have decided to use instant card deck. These cards are drawn and create unpredictable element during each enemy's turn. Outside of the combat, there will be a true adventure type phase of the gameplay. Between quests, players could draw event cards and make decisions. We should not be mistaken here as their relative look similarity to the Gloomhaven's quest card. The actual decision we could make in this game will take us to journal rather than just looking back at the card. So there should be far more content of these decisions. Some of the potential decision results mentioned by developers include initiation of an instant battle, riddle solving, D20 check. The game won't be a real campaign if there is no sense of character progression. Here, unsurprisingly, characters have their levels. When they level up, their model profile will level up as well. Interesting element here is the experience points in this game is called Valor. So bad deeds can potentially lose their Valor. One such example given by developer is a stealing something. There are of course items and equipments that can help you customize your hero in your own way with Gorgeous Arts card. The game uses resin. Unicool technology, which I've never heard of before, but it is claimed as more durable type of resin. From the miniature layman perspective like myself, general opinion sounds like the resins can produce higher detail miniatures, but they are more fragile compared to the PVC. This also translates into manufacturing process, hence eventually higher production cost. I do not have any of the actual product in my hand, but there are several confirmations that quality of Eldfall minis are top-notch. I see a couple comments on BGD uploading the miniature quality. From the content creator side, King of Average confirms the Unicool is indeed high-quality technology. All of their mini look dynamic and highly detailed sculpt to me. Also, it is important to note these minis do not come pre-assembled unless you pay extra. However, there is a disclaimer that company may not guarantee the product if it gets damaged during the delivery process. Developer also states here though, most mini require only handful pieces for assembly. Here is my current feel about the game from what I know so far. Given the game has been originally developed as a competitive, organized play in mind skirmish wargame, the game system for combat play mode is as versatile as it can get. I cannot think any specific situation this game's core system not able to handle. If there is any limitation of the gameplay, it should come from designer's choice, rather than actual game system's limitation. In another word, the game can certainly expand, create countless amount of unique experience, and continuously evolve. If you don't have a previous experience of wargaming, there is a major byproduct of such versatile game system. The learning curve for this game could potentially be a notch above the other relatively steep learning curve massive campaign board games like Eon Trespass Odyssey. Having said that, I'm seeing continuous effort the developer is placing to lower the learning curve for the players who have no previous wargame experience. Some examples include simplification of line of sight rule, changing movement so there is no major requirement. The team has also confirmed there will be tutorial quests, and will be looking into card representation of all other elements of the game for handy reference, and to help more immersiveness as a board gamer. The qualities of miniature in this game is a major sales point. It should be well above any other PVC based game. I expect these to be compatible with the level of Games Workshop and Kingdom Death Monster. The downside of high quality minis is cost per mini being significantly more expensive. As the game continues to add new stretch goals each day, I don't know how many minis we will be getting at the end, but significantly lower than some of the dungeon crawler board games. For example, Thanaris Adventures Ultimate Edition comes with 101 miniatures for $189 without any stretch goals added from currently ongoing campaign. While core pledge of Eldfall Northern Wind costing $120 without stretch goal comes with 12 miniatures. So if someone is purely after quantity of miniatures, this game may not be for you. However, if you're new to this channel, I would like to share my personal opinion here. Initially, lots of minis may feel a great deal, but they take up a space. If each are used for just once or twice, their actual play value is very small when compared to a single mini that you use over and over. If this becomes your hobby, you will naturally start to grow miniature collections. So I would personally favor quality over quantity. It's like no one really cares about common rarity card in TCG, especially once they get a playset. In summary, the Free Company members are truly passionate gamers themselves. I sense they are treating or thinking Eldfall Chronicles series as platform for all their games in the future. They have already proven this by making Northern Wind, Dungeon Crawler system, retroactively applying to all the minis released for skirmish by creating model profiles for the game mode. Similarly, these Northern Wind models will get the skirmish model profile. They have also shown and confirmed continued working at least on mini narrative quest or campaign creation in the future. There are a relatively small number of miniatures released to this date, but I admire the fact that the team is actually taking time to release quality product over the quantity. This makes me believe the vision is more longer term than the short term. Eldfall Chronicle is a platform rather than one-time game. I'm confident we will continue to see the series expansion and very hopeful the team will keep the items we purchase now stay relevant if they were to release new game mode like boss battle mode. Personally, I recommend this to anyone who is looking for highly tactical combat system board game that can be their go-to game with continued future support and expansion. If for nothing else, the campaign is one of the most exciting one right now, with very cool daily stretch goals to keep the hype going. Also, the development team seems to be very receptive to players or future players' opinion. Thanks for watching.